In 2005, we already knew some pretty important things about the role of genes in psychiatric disorders. What we didn't know is what were any of the genes involved? Could we actually connect that genetic risk to specific DNA variations? And what's happened in the decades since that has been quite a change. The real breakthrough in enabling us to study the genetics of psychiatric disorders has been the way that scientists have come together to collaborate. And so there was a consortium formed in about 2007 called the Psychiatric Genomics Consortium, where scientists from around the world came together and said, we're going to analyze things together, we're going to try to make discoveries together, and that has really paid off. The Psychiatric Genomics Consortium reported findings from a large genome-wide study of schizophrenia that identified more than 100 different genetic variants or loci that contribute to the disorder. And that was really seen as kind of a watershed because it opened up all kinds of leads in terms of what genes might be involved, what biology, and so on. At a genetic level, the connections between disorders that we think of as very distinct are stronger than we might have thought. Schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, which have been considered from early on in the diagnosis of psychiatric disorders as two fundamentally different kinds of disorders, turn out at a genetic level to overlap quite a bit. We also see overlap between bipolar disorder and depression, between depression and ADHD, even between schizophrenia and autism in some of the genetic factors. It's not to say these things are all simply one disorder, but we're seeing connections at a biological and genetic level that suggest a kind of shared biology that may have implications as we begin to think about evolving our diagnostic system. The fact is that all psychiatric medications that are currently approved for treating these disorders are based on biological insights that are half a century old. What the genetic studies have the potential to do is to identify unforeseen biological components of these disorders that could then be the targets of more effective and specific treatments. What are the genes involved? What proteins do those genes make? What pathways are they involved in? We might be able to not have a kind of serendipitous discovery of new medicines, which is the way it's mostly gone, but actually use our biological knowledge to target specific components of the disorder that may be ultimately more effective, more specific than treatments that we have today. And that's where a lot of the hope is.